So today, we're diving into a really fascinating story about Indonesia's energy future. It's this incredible clash between massive old-school power grids and a brand new revolution happening on rooftops. It's all about how a country with over 270 million people is going to keep the lights on. And it all kicks off with one just absolutely mind-boggling number.
100 million. I just want you to let that number sink in for a second. What on earth could that represent?
Yeah, that's not a guess. That's a real number. 100 million people in Indonesia all at once without power. It's a pretty brutal reminder of just how high the stakes are when a country's energy system actually fails.
To really get what's happening in Indonesia today, we've got to rewind the clock a bit, back to 2005, to a single day that uncovered a huge vulnerability in how the country gets its power.
Just look at how fast this all went down. At 10:23 in the morning, a single critical transmission line fails. And then, literally moments later, protective systems don't work right, and that triggers a shutdown at two massive power stations. By lunchtime, huge parts of Java and Bali, we're talking the most populated islands in the country, were completely dark.
What happened was a textbook cascading failure. Think of it like dominoes. One piece falls and just takes the whole system down with it. That highly centralized grid, it just collapsed, affecting 100 million people. It was a massive wake-up call, right? It showed everyone just how dangerous it is to rely on just a few central points of failure.
And that brings us to a potential fix, one that really wasn't a big option back in 2005, decentralized solar power. The idea is actually pretty simple. Instead of having a few giant power plants, what if you had power being generated everywhere, on thousands and thousands of rooftops?
And this is the beauty of rooftop solar. Every single house, every school, every business with solar panels becomes its own little power station. It makes the entire grid stronger, more resilient. Because if one part of the system goes down, the others can just keep on running. You're moving from this fragile, centralized model to a much more flexible, spread-out network.
But here's the thing. Just as rooftop solar was really starting to pick up speed in Indonesia, the story hits a major plot twist. The government rolls out a new regulation, and it completely changes the rules of the game.
So in February 2024, the Ministry of Energy drops this new rule, and it takes direct aim at the single biggest reason for regular people to put solar panels on their roofs, the financial incentive. And that incentive is called net metering. Let me break it down because it's super important. On a sunny day, your solar panels might make way more electricity than you're actually using. Net metering lets you send that extra power back into the grid, and in return, the utility company gives you a credit. It lowers your bill. It's a huge driver for people to adopt solar.
The change is just stark. Before the new rule, you got a credit for that extra power you were making. After February 2024, that whole system is gone, just abolished. Now, any extra power you send to the grid is basically a donation. You get nothing back on your bill for it.
And as experts like Fabi Tumiwa point out, this makes the decision to go solar way more expensive for the average person. Without that credit, it takes so much longer to earn back the money you spend installing the panels. It pretty much guts the financial reason for making the switch.
But this is where the story gets really interesting. Because while the national government is basically putting up these big roadblocks, you've got local innovators, especially in West Java, who are finding clever new ways to get around them.
See, the province of West Java has this big ambition to become a green province, but their public funds are limited, and now there's less reason for private investment. So how do you get solar panels onto public buildings, like schools? Well, you get really creative with how you pay for it.
The answer they came up with is this brilliant rental model that uses something called an energy service company, or an ESCO. And the whole point is to get rid of the single biggest hurdle for schools, that massive upfront cost for installation.
And it works in this beautifully simple way. The school just signs a rental contract, then the ESCO comes in and does everything. They install the panels, they own them, and they take care of all the maintenance. All the school has to do is pay a monthly rental fee for the solar power they use. No debt, no digging into their budget, just clean energy.
So this model is a total win-win. The school completely avoids that huge initial payment. The risk for them is almost zero because the ESCO owns and maintains everything. And it helps the entire province get closer to its climate goals without going broke. It's a classic case of bottom-up innovation solving a top-down problem.
And all of this brings us right back to the main point here. Indonesia is truly standing at a crossroads, caught between two completely different ideas about what its energy future should look like.
On one side, you have this top-down policy that seems designed to protect the big state-owned utility in the old centralized grid. And on the other side, you have this incredible bottom-up innovation, with local governments finding these smart, creative ways to build a more resilient, decentralized network, one rooftop at a time.
This tension, this push and pull between these two forces is literally deciding the future of energy for the fourth biggest country in the world. What happens here could have real ripple effects for the entire global energy transition.
And it leaves us with this one really important question. As we all race towards a cleaner future, what's going to be the more powerful engine for change? Will it be the big, sweeping rules from central governments? Or will it be the clever, scrappy, persistent problem-solving of innovators on the ground? The answer is really anyone's guess.